There are moments in life when loneliness weighs like a slab and sadness seems endless. You feel trapped in your mind, without motivation, without direction, as if no one could understand what you're going through. But what if I told you there's a way to break that cycle? That there's a mindset, a set of ancient practices, that can ensure you never again feel alone or trapped in sadness. It's not about depending on others or filling the void with temporary distractions. What I'm about to reveal in this video is a profound shift in the way you see life, inspired by Stoic philosophy. Great minds like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca faced unthinkable adversities, but they were never slaves to loneliness or despair. Today, you'll discover how they managed to strengthen their minds to the point where sadness and loneliness lost all power over them. Stay until the end, because what you'll learn here could change your life forever. But before we begin, I want you to take a moment and write in the comment box, "I will never feel sad or depressed again." With this simple act, you're committing to yourself that from today on, you'll be a new version of yourself. Now let's begin. Lesson 1. The power of inner control. Stoicism teaches us that the key to finding serenity in life lies in understanding what we can and cannot control. The Stoic sage Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." A simple yet profound phrase. What he meant was that although we cannot control what happens around us, we can always choose how we interpret and respond to those events. Many times, anxiety, sadness, and loneliness arise because we try to control the uncontrollable. Other people's opinions, the outcomes of our actions, or the circumstances fate throws at us. We become frustrated when things don't go as expected, but here lies the mistake. We're placing our inner peace in the hands of external factors. The Stoic lesson is clear. Focus on what you can control. Your mind is your kingdom. You can choose which thoughts to host, how to interpret challenges, and what attitudes to adopt in the face of difficulties. Instead of letting negative emotions dominate you, accept that not everything is under your control. Start working on mental strength, on your responses and your attitude. Every time you feel the weight of loneliness or sadness crushing you, pause and reflect. Am I trying to change the unchangeable? Redirect your energy toward what's within your reach, your thoughts and your actions. In that choice, in that inner control, you'll find a freedom that will release you from the emotional burden of the external world and allow you to regain the serenity and strength you need to move forward. Lesson 2. Embrace impermanence. Impermanence is a fundamental truth of life which, although sometimes hard to accept, is a tremendous source of freedom. Everything in this world is in constant change. The good and the bad, joy and pain, companionship and loneliness. Stoicism teaches us that by understanding this reality, we can find peace even in the midst of suffering. When you feel overwhelmed by sadness, loneliness, or any other negative emotion, remember, nothing is permanent. This feeling that now seems to crush you will not last forever. Just as the seasons change, so will your circumstances and emotions. The Stoics invite us to see the transience of everything as a relief, not a threat. Knowing that what you're experiencing is temporary gives you a new perspective. It allows you to accept pain without resistance, because you know it's only a stage. Moreover, impermanence teaches us not to cling to emotions, neither the positive nor the negative. If you hold on too tightly to what makes you happy, you'll inevitably suffer when it changes, and it will change because everything does. In the same way, if you cling to suffering, you'll sink deeper into it. The teaching of this lesson is simple yet powerful. Accept that everything passes. This doesn't mean resignation, but rather a deep understanding of the nature of life. When you realize that both pain and joy are temporary, you'll be able to navigate difficulties with greater serenity and wisdom, knowing that, like everything else, they too shall pass. Before we continue, I'd really appreciate it if you could give this video a like and share it so it can reach many more people. And if you don't want to miss any of my future videos, subscribe and activate the notification bell. Lesson 3. The importance of the present. Life happens now, in this very moment. The present is the only thing we truly possess, yet we often neglect it, caught up in memories of the past or worried about what hasn't happened yet. Stoics like Seneca warned us that living outside the present is wasting life itself. Reflect on this. How much time do you spend reliving past situations you can no longer change, or anticipating a future that doesn't yet exist? The human mind has a natural tendency to wander, but the Stoics taught that to achieve true inner peace, we must redirect our attention to the present. The past is history, and the future is uncertain. Only in the present do you have the power to act, to decide, and to be. When you feel depressed or anxious, it's often because you're trapped in that spiral of thoughts, perhaps regretting what you did or didn't do, or worrying about what might happen. The Stoic lesson here is clear. Stop wasting your time on what you cannot control and focus your energy on what is right in front of you, this very moment. Practicing mindfulness will help you find serenity. Every moment we live is an opportunity to be conscious, grateful, and at peace. If you can center your mind on the now, you'll discover a limitless source of strength and clarity. The present is not just a point in time, it is the only space where you can truly live. The time you spend on negative thoughts is time you are not living. Make the present your mental home, and you will see how your life begins to gain more meaning, peace, and purpose. Lesson 4. You are not alone in your struggles. Feeling alone in our problems is one of the deepest causes of sadness. In those dark moments, it's easy to believe we're the only ones suffering. However, one of the most powerful teachings of Stoicism is the reminder that we are not alone in our difficulties. All human beings, at some point, face challenges, losses, and suffering. The Stoics invite us to recognize that we are part of a larger community, a shared humanity united by common experiences. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded us that there isn't a single person exempt from pain or adversity. This doesn't mean your suffering should be minimized, but rather put into perspective. Your pain doesn't separate you from others, it connects you to them. Understanding that suffering is part of the fabric of human life can be freeing. The emotional loneliness you feel is not unique, it's part of a collective experience. Knowing that millions of people face, or have faced, problems similar to yours can bring you strength and comfort. It's a reminder that you're not fighting in isolation, even if it sometimes feels that way. Furthermore, this lesson invites you to seek connection. By sharing your difficulties with others, whether through conversation or simply by remembering this truth, you will realize you are not alone. The burden of loneliness lessens when we acknowledge that we're all sailing the same sea of challenges. In the end, this understanding strengthens you and helps you face your problems with greater resilience, knowing that you are part of a human community that shares in your struggles. Lesson 5. The will to overcome adversity. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, left us with an essential teaching. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. This simple statement holds a powerful truth. Adversity is inevitable, but the way you choose to face it is entirely up to you. Sadness, loneliness, and hardships are part of life, but what defines your character is your response to them. Stoicism invites us to develop an unbreakable will. When you face difficult situations, you have two paths: surrender to the pain, or find within yourself the strength to endure. This lesson is a reminder that while external circumstances may seem overwhelming, your inner strength is always greater. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen that will, to prove to yourself that you can endure more than you believe. The mistake many people make is underestimating their ability to overcome adversity. When sadness hits, it's easy to think there's no way out, but it's precisely in those moments that you must trust your resilience the most. Stoic will doesn't mean eliminating pain or difficulty, it means facing them with courage and resolve. It's telling the world, I can handle this, no matter how hard it gets. Remember, every storm is temporary, but the firmness of your character is permanent. The more you exercise this will, the stronger you become in the face of life's blows. In this way, you'll never let despair take over, because no matter what happens, you know you have the power to endure and emerge stronger from any adversity. Lesson 6. The wisdom of detachment. Detachment, one of the fundamental pillars of Stoicism, is the key to living with inner peace and true freedom. For the Stoics, suffering is born from attachment, from emotional dependence on people, things, or situations that are never truly under our control. When we cling to these external things, we condemn ourselves to anxiety and pain when they inevitably change or are lost. Epictetus told us we should view life as a grand theater. People and situations are actors who enter and exit our stage, but they do not belong to us. Detachment is not indifference or a lack of emotion. It is the ability to accept what happens without letting your well-being depend on it. It is understanding that things, relationships, and circumstances are temporary, and your happiness cannot rely on what is fleeting. This kind of detachment doesn't mean you stop loving, enjoying, or engaging with life. On the contrary, it allows you to do so more fully and freely, without the constant fear of loss. Why? Because when you practice detachment, you release an enormous emotional burden. You no longer live with the fear that something will break or disappear. You understand that the only things that truly belong to you are your mind, your thoughts, and your actions. The wisdom of detachment is this: when you learn to let go of what you cannot control, your anxiety dissolves and you find serenity. You stop fighting against the current of life and accept what comes and goes with grace. In doing so, detachment makes you a more resilient person, less bound to fear and suffering, and more open to peace and tranquility. Lesson 7. Appreciate what you have here and now. Gratitude is one of the most powerful antidotes to sadness and loneliness. The Stoics understood that the human mind tends to focus on what is missing, what we don't yet have or what we've lost. However, when we pause to appreciate what we already possess in this moment and place, something profound changes within us. Gratitude transforms the way we perceive our circumstances. It reminds us that, despite everything, there is always something to be thankful for. Seneca said, "It is not fortune that gave us these things, but time and circumstance. Make use of them while they are there." This lesson invites us to value what is already present in our lives, instead of focusing our energy on what we lack. Perhaps you feel like you don't have everything you want, or that something isn't going the way you expected. But there is always something you can appreciate: your health, a friendship, a moment of peace, the simple fact that you are alive. The key lies in shifting your mental focus. Instead of staying trapped in what is missing, begin to see what is already yours. If you practice this daily gratitude, you'll realize that the things we often overlook are the ones that contribute most to our emotional well-being. This shift in perspective is powerful because it frees you from a scarcity mindset and leads you into a mindset of abundance. The Stoic lesson is clear: value what you have here and now. By doing so, you'll begin to feel that sadness and loneliness lose their grip on you, because your attention is no longer on what you lack, but on the richness of what you already have. Lesson 8. Turn obstacles into opportunities. One of the most profound lessons in Stoicism is that obstacles are not barriers, they are disguised opportunities. Marcus Aurelius expressed this simply and powerfully: what stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, when life throws you a challenge, it's not something meant to stop you, it's a starting point for your personal growth. The Stoics teach us to shift our perspective on problems. Instead of seeing an obstacle as a curse, we can see it as an opportunity to improve. This is especially important during times of loneliness and depression. Though these experiences can feel oppressive, they also hold the potential to teach you more about yourself and to strengthen your character. Pain and hardship are not enemies, they are teachers. Imagine yourself in a dark tunnel of sadness or isolation. Stoicism tells you that while you cannot control external circumstances, you can control how you respond to them. You can choose to sink into despair, or you can use these moments to build your resilience. Maybe this is the perfect time to reflect on your priorities, work on your inner growth, or discover strengths you didn't know you had. Every obstacle is a chance to become stronger, wiser, and more aware of your inner power. Difficult moments are not the end of the road, they are the beginning of something new. If you can adopt this perspective, life's adversities won't defeat you, they will propel you to new heights. In the end, obstacles don't just transform you, they reveal who you truly are. Lesson 9. Do not fear solitude, embrace it. Solitude is a concept that, for many, evokes fear and anxiety. However, the Stoics teach us to see it as an invaluable opportunity. For them, solitude is not a burden. It is a refuge that invites reflection and self-discovery. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher and emperor, often retreated into himself to find peace and clarity. He reminds us that in the stillness of solitude, we can find the answers we long for. When you face moments of solitude, instead of resisting them, consider the experience a sacred space for personal growth. Solitude offers time to disconnect from the distractions of the external world and dive into your deepest thoughts. This is the perfect moment to explore who you really are, your desires, your fears, your aspirations. Ask yourself, what motivates you? What ignites your passion? What do you truly value? By embracing solitude, you allow yourself to hear your inner voice, the one often drowned out by the noise of everyday life. This self-awareness is fundamental for building unshakable mental strength. In solitude, you can forge your character, redefine your goals, and make wiser decisions aligned with your true self. Do not fear solitude, accept it and use it as a vehicle for self-discovery. Instead of seeing it as a sign of isolation, begin to recognize it as a chance to grow, learn, and connect with yourself on a deeper level. Remember, in solitude, you will find the strength to face the world with confidence and clarity. Lesson 10. Accept what you cannot change. The final Stoic lesson, and perhaps the most liberating, is learning to accept what you cannot change. The constant struggle against reality is one of the deepest sources of suffering. Depression often stems from the desire for things to be different from how they are, a longing that traps us in a cycle of dissatisfaction and frustration. The Stoics teach us that rather than resisting the inevitable, we must learn to flow with life. This doesn't mean giving up in the face of hardship or losing hope. It is, rather, an act of wisdom. By accepting what we cannot change, we begin to free our minds from the burden of suffering that comes from resistance. True strength lies in the ability to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. Imagine facing a setback, a project that didn't go as planned, a relationship that falls apart, or even external circumstances like a global crisis. Resisting these events will only increase your anguish. But if you accept the situation as it is, you give yourself the freedom to act with clarity and determination. You can redirect your efforts toward what you can control: your reactions, your thoughts, and your decisions. Inner peace comes when we stop fighting the inevitable. By accepting reality, we begin to see new opportunities and paths forward, even in the midst of adversity. This acceptance allows us to cultivate a fuller life, where serenity and strength become our guides. Ultimately, accepting what you cannot change frees you to live in the present, to embrace life as it is, and to find true happiness within yourself. If you've made it this far, you now hold in your hands a form of knowledge that few apply, but that can make the difference between a life of suffering and one of unshakable strength. Sadness and loneliness only have power over you if you give it to them. The Stoics understood that true control always lies within ourselves. If this video has been helpful to you, don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Like it and share it with others who might need it. Helping others is also part of personal growth. And if you want to continue strengthening your mind with more Stoic teachings, I invite you to watch the next video, where we'll explore another principle that can transform your life. Subscribe and activate notifications so you don't miss anything. See you in the next video.